This is what I mean. We have to take those mediums and
Mm,
put them in our hands, put them in the hands of the people that actually have something to say.
yeah.
Because these governments and this, they try to take it away from us. They try to take it away from us and put it into places where it's going to be pretty and it's going to be palatable for them,
Yeah.
because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. It's to bring awareness as well to, I think with a lot of my poetry is I'm giving a window into a world that they've never seen or they've not know. There's people that come to me and they don't know where Angola is, or they don't even know that there was a civil war there.
Yes. All right, gang. What's good? You already know who it is. It's Sonny, aka Tasso, aka Pastor Zen, aka whatever you please. Today I'm here with my guy Hill the poet. If you don't know him now, you know. This is oh man, this guy has been a super genuine soul, man. He's had me on his platform a few times, fluent in both. Make sure you follow that. I'll put a little link in the description. Essentially, what he's all about is expression through poetry. And part of the mission of Fluent in Both is being able to express yourself in different ways, specifically in different languages. So, Hill, to kind of kick us off, first of all, how you doing? And what's been new? What's going on with you?
Obviously, we created a platform. You were one of the first few performers we had when we started this journey last year, and yeah, it's just been growth. The team has grown a lot. It used to be just me and Chris. Now we have about 7 people involved in this, and it just keeps growing, and the quality keeps going up, the expectations keep going up, and it's
Yeah.
amazing to see. It's just how receptive the community has been to sort of the mission and what we're trying to achieve with Fluent in Both.
I think that's beautiful. And I think part of why people are receptive is because, first of all, you have a heart and it's apparent. It kind of push like it exudes through everything you do. Like you have a heart to want to see people win. And I think that that's
Yeah.
such a rare thing today. Like most people are very, very petty and they don't want to see people
Yeah.
doing well, especially if it's better than them in some cases. But you have this spirit about you where it's like you're just trying to grow the pie for everybody. Like, let's see what we can do with whoever we can bring on. And that was something that really just drew me to that platform. Again, fluent in both. I think part of what I wanted to ask you too with this is what is, I guess, the inspiration behind the the bilingual aspect of it? Like, what is something that has made you lean into seeing different languages as potentially as vehicles for us to have more shared understanding?
It all started with my own journey, in obviously being an immigrant living here in Britain. And, I came here really young. I was 13 years old, came to live, my parents immigrated from Portugal over to here. And, I hated it here. It was barely spoke the language.
Rainy all the
Yeah, we came in
time.
July and it was raining,
Oh
and
man.
I told my aunt like literally every day, like, are we really staying here? Like, is this really what we want to do?
Man.
Um, and so Fluent in Both came about my struggles to kind of fit into, you know, being British, and obviously going through it's just the difficulties of being an immigrant living in a country that is not always been very receptive of immigrants, even though it tries to be.
Yeah.
And so it's the nuances of living in a country like that. That's what spurred on. And obviously, me being a creative, still trying to find myself and figuring myself out. The first sort of instinct you have is to try to be what the norm is. So,
Yeah.
I figure out that in the beginning I was trying to be so British just to fit into everybody else. And Fluent in Both is me saying, you know what, I don't care anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do poetry in Portuguese, and if people like it, they like it. If they if they're
Yeah.
cool with it, they're cool with it. If they're not, then they're not. Whatever. If 2 people like it, then I've done my job, like, and it's kind of like a rebellious. Started as a rebellious thing, and then I started to realize that I wasn't the only one that felt like that. You
Mhm.
know, I started to figure out through that journey, I started to say, oh, that person also feels that way. Oh, that person also has experiences like that, or this person also has experiences like that. And then I started to say, well, maybe I can create a space where people like me can feel safe and can grow and can be shown. Because I felt like there was a bit of a shun to anything that doesn't fit the mold as to what is a British poet, or
Yeah.
the British mold, so to
Hmm.
speak. And so I wanted to rebel against that. I wanted to say no, you don't determine my capabilities for me,
Yeah.
so if I can't be accepted from you, then I'm gonna get my peers and I'm gonna let them tell me if I'm accepted or not. And
Hmm.
so that's where kind of Fluent
I
and
love
both
that.
came about.
Man, that's dope. And another thing, just to harken back to sort of the origin story, because at the around the same time that you started Fluent in Both, I started this organization called The Collective, which is more on the hip hop side of things. But
Yeah,
missionally, I think that there are some alignments, places of alignment where, intentionality and community. And it was cool because we actually got to be on a BBC interview
yeah,
together
yeah, yeah,
at
yeah,
that
yeah.
time too.
That
So
was
it's kind
really
of
cool.
like, yeah, it was just kind of like God orchestrating all of these things at that time
For
for
real.
for that purpose. And where we've come since then has been a blessing. I'm finishing up a degree program now and thinking about what next steps are. But
Yeah,
ultimately, being in a community where creativity, where artistry, where being authentic has to be part of that next stage for me. And
yeah,
it's like not a negotiable thing anymore, not something that I can just say, okay, maybe it's just the way it is. Like I'm, for lack of a better term, hell bent on making sure that I begin to curate a space where people are loved and not
hmm,
just like passively, but actively known and loved. And so from that perspective, how do you, and how in your, maybe in your experience, how does poetry kind of serve as that bridge for different cultures, different languages, different people? Because I think that poetry, even just English poetry, can be a sort of connector, right? It can help
yeah,
people understand the emotions of others in ways that allow them to resonate with themselves. But when you add another dimension of language into it, it can almost multiply, I think, its impact. Even if you don't understand something, sometimes you can just hear
mhm,
a message in the tone of voice.
yeah.
So maybe you can speak to that a little bit, being a bilingual poet yourself.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So that started with sort of me exploring my own roots. I was born in Angola, but I left when I was 3 years old. In my country, there was a civil war. A lot of families were displaced. It just so happens that I went and lived with my aunts and uncles in Portugal, but I didn't really, I grew up culturally Portuguese. The only Angolan sort of side that I knew was my family, what we did at home
Right.
and stuff like that. And so it was my journey to figure out my roots and who I am that made me realize, wait a minute, when I went to Angola, something clicked inside of me. When I went to Africa, when I saw people like me, when I saw little kids, talented, fighting for a spot, telling me, "Oh, I really want to go Europe because I want to do this and I want to do that." But then it's also an exploration of the art form, right? I started to see art. I came out of poetry and I started to see art as a whole. And I started to look at
Mhm.
paintings. I started to look at Picasso. And I started to question myself. Do people look at the three women and ask themselves why they are
Mm.
naked? I start to ask those questions to myself. Do people look at Gustav Klimt and ask him, why is the man kissing the woman? Why is the woman?
That why question is so important.
Yeah,
That's where all
yeah.
the
Why is it?
beauty is.
Yeah, why? Exactly. And then it came to that. We question so much,
Yeah.
and we lose everything. We lose the essence of what it is, and in Africa there's in the old sort of the old ladies would sit and would start
Mm,
singing
more
in the native
traditional.
languages,
Yeah.
traditional languages that we don't even know what it is, but
Yeah.
somehow that beat, that drum, that beat, it will capture you, will capture your essence, it will get to you. And I thought,
Mm,
wait a minute, like, do I even need to understand something to like it?
mm,
Or can I just
mm.
or can I just feel it? Can I feel poetry?
I want to drive deeper in that. That's something that I've been thinking about a lot. For my dissertation, I'm writing about
Mm,
language and its impact on culture. I'm doing like all these linguistic analyses and stuff like, and it's got me to this place where I'm like, I really, and I love words. Don't get me wrong. The power of
mm,
words is a beautiful thing. I have a book, maybe it's not actually with me right now, but there's this book I've been reading by this German philosopher named Simone Weil called The Power of Words. And she talks
mm.
about a lot of these, like the impact, both positive and negative. But in terms of just like what I guess we get to this place where we don't need the words anymore. Like I
Mhm.
want to get to a place where we can exist in a post-language society. And that almost feels weird coming from somebody who is a poet, who is a rapper, who loves to use words, who loves to
Mhm.
write. But I think that there's a space somewhere down the line for like telepathy where we can just understand each other.
Yeah,
And it's like a
yeah.
weird thing. And I maybe this is a bit of a tangent in this conversation too. I didn't expect it to go here, but part of why I'm also attracted to the idea of poetry, it almost feels like this final resting place for a lot of our um most potent ideas. Like we can put it here and know that they will last, and we can come back and we can look at them and we can examine, ourselves from the past or ourselves in the future
Mhm.
using these words. But ultimately, the goal shouldn't be to glorify the words themselves, but it should be to realize that the essence comes from us.
Yeah, yeah. The
Maybe you could speak to
emotions
that a little bit.
and,
Yeah,
and the feeling and
yeah,
and that's kind of what I start to realize. I start to understand poetry deeply,
mm,
right? Not just the words themselves, but the feelings, the rhythm, the cadence, all of it. Um, like I said, hearing these old ladies singing in Kimbundu, which is the local, the traditional language of Angola, and not understanding anything, but being able to be taken into this spiritual place and be able to feel my ancestors for something that I don't know. They could have
yeah,
said anything right then, but that's where it took me. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? And I
yeah,
started to understand what it is that my mission is through poetry. Yes, there
mm,
is the words, and yes, there is thought, and there's a bit of for me it's kind of like puzzles, putting the words together and how that's, but
absolutely.
there's also the what's behind it, the meaning,
Yeah,
the emotion, the deliverance, the how am I going to affect the other person that is listening, as well as same way that those ladies affected me,
yeah,
and opened me to all of this spiritual realm that for me was completely closed off
yeah,
beforehand.
yeah,
Do you know what I
man.
mean?
Powerful stuff, bro. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Yeah, it really is a powerful tool, and it's being able to, like, I remember I was like, as we all do, doom scrolling on Instagram, and I stopped because I saw this one post. It was some kids in like an African boarding school somewhere, and they were just singing this song. There was it was, you know. You know how like the acoustics almost sounded like you're in a hallway or in a staircase, and then it's just like these. I think it was, just a classroom, a regular classroom, and they were just singing the song, and for the life of me, I tried to look up the language. I tried to look up what the words were. I kind of got a general sense, maybe, but I think I might be off. But I know exactly what they were saying, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
like that weird thing, like you just felt the depth of emotion connect to something in you, and
Yeah.
you need to somehow explicate that in like verbiage so you can hold on to it. But the truth of the matter is it exists in us, and that connecting point where we are able to then it's almost like these words are like cultural glue or Velcro patches that
Yeah.
allow us to begin to really see that we're all in this together. So yeah, and again, thank you so much for taking this time, bro. I really do appreciate it. I think this
No,
is
no, it's a
great
pleasure.
perspective.
I
Um,
always love talking to you because we always, we always bounce off each other really well,
yeah,
and I like the way that you like kind of see things and the way that you explain it. So it's
that's
really
love,
great to
bro.
have conversations with you. So
Yeah,
yeah, when you said that, I was like, yeah, yeah, let's do it. Let's
man,
go
that's
for
love.
it.
Absolutely. So a couple more questions. I don't want to take too much of your time, obviously, but
No, no,
one thing I
it's good
wanted to
stuff.
touch on too, appreciate you, is in terms of the global aspect of community building. Obviously, right now you're based in Nottingham, you're based in the
Yeah,
UK. Um, but ultimately, I see this maybe growing to be a global thing, a
yeah,
brand, especially with the way the internet is nowadays, and you can connect with people from all over. What do you think in terms of the vision for Fluent in both? Not, I guess, just in terms of growing the brand, but also in terms of building global community, building those bridges
yeah.
between cultures that allow us to understand each other more holistically.
Well, Fluent and Both actually started online. Um, I started doing, live shows on Instagram. And so we
Yeah,
actually grew our global audience before we actually started to do
a local
face-to-face
one.
shows and
Fair
local
play.
shows.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so we already have that more or less started. But then we've been focusing more on building the brand within our community and seeing it. But the plan has always been to expand it. This is an idea that came from me looking at children in Angola that don't really have the opportunity. They're super talented, but nobody really has the opportunity to see their talent.
yeah,
And so the plan is to grab those communities that have because talent is everywhere, but it's about opportunity. Like I love giving people the platform. I love giving people an opportunity, a chance, because you know what I mean. I was one of those kids, and if my aunts and uncles didn't give me a chance, I wouldn't be in the UK. I wouldn't have done the amazing things that I was able to do if nobody had given me the opportunity. So for me, it's very important for me if I'm creating anything, I need to be able to,
pay that forward. Yeah,
but yeah, move that forward. I'm just doing exactly what my uncles and aunts have taught me to do,
that's
what they've done
blessed.
for me. And so
Yeah,
the plan has always been, yeah, we're locally, we are growing, we are helping to grow a lot of local artists. We are giving our platform to artists that are multilingual that don't really have the confidence or that never really had the opportunity to perform. Now they have an opportunity to perform in their language, and we're watching that grow. Now the next phase is to expand out, to go to other countries, find the local talent, go and literally just put little bits of Fluent in Both in everywhere that we can get and plant our seeds wherever we go. One of the places that I really want to target is Africa because obviously that's where I come from. That's the
yeah,
motherland. Um, and I think that,
love that.
it has grown over the years. We have Afro House, but I think in terms of like poetry, outside of US, UK, poetry is still very small. So it's about also taking poetry out from the snobs, from the sort of higher class
Yeah,
and
yeah,
bringing it to the grassroots, bringing it to the kids of Angola, bringing it
man,
to making it more mainstream.
that's it.
So then is more accessible to other people because at the moment poetry is not as accessible as we
Yeah.
think
It
because
does feel
we
like
are
this
here.
highbrow thing, doesn't it? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
reserved for this class of people that
yeah,
are more refined than the rest of
yeah.
us. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and but it's beautiful because in the last sort of few years,
Mm,
we've been able to grow poetry, take it out a little bit,
yeah,
but it's still only within the major play,
yeah, yeah,
US, UK, Europe kind of, you go to Portugal, they kind of know about it. It's little growing, but the scene is still not as big as the UK. Because
Mm,
I actually had the opportunity to go and perform in Portugal. And I felt like the scene is wanting to grow, but it's not there yet. And I feel like I had a conversation, I had a live with someone from Barcelona as well. Um, Shout out Ginny the Mo. She's amazing, amazing, talented artist. And the scene there seems to not be as big as it is in the UK. So my plan for Fluent to Birth is not only to grow multiculturalism and create connections of cultures, but is also to bring poetry to these communities and grow, take it out from the high social
I
class
love it.
and middle class and bring it to the poorer areas and then watch it grow as well.
Man, I love it. I love it because, and that's part of why I love hip hop too, is because hip hop to me feels like a form of street poetry. It's like
Yeah,
the form of poetry that is not accepted by the upper class, but it's
yeah,
still legitimate. It's like you're taking the power back, and it's a form of speaking truth
yeah.
to power and speaking comfort to the marginalized, as I had only said to me in another interview, actually. It's just this idea of being able to bring those same tools to the people that would actually best use it, in my opinion. I
Mhm.
think that the people that are on the ground level of society have the most to say that would help
Oh yeah,
the upper.
100%.
Instead of a top-down format that we got right now, it really should be grassroots. It should be bottom up. The way
Mhm.
that we rebuild our world is by listening and talking
Yeah,
to the people that are actually there, that are actually doing the things, instead of thinking that our
exactly.
theories can overtake, millennium of traditional understanding and local just wisdom and all those things that we try to, you know, extract and upload to the cloud somewhere. Like
Yeah,
instead, like why don't we just talk to the human beings and try and fix
yeah.
this the old-fashioned way?
It's to bring awareness as well to, I think with a lot of my poetry is I'm giving a window into a world that they've never seen or they've not know. There's people that come to me and they don't know where Angola is, or they don't even know that there was a civil war there.
Yeah,
They don't know that there's, children that die of
yeah,
malaria and stuff like that. And so it's about it's about them allowing us to show them that it's not, there's more to the world than, you know, your piece of land,
yeah,
so to
yeah.
speak.
You make a
And
great
I
that
think,
makes a great point, to be fair, because that's the way
yeah,
that we don't pay attention to these things because they're not in our face. We don't have
yeah,
the people who are going through them necessarily representing themselves in our wherever we're at. And so
hmm
maybe part of the solution, instead of trying to I feel like what we try to do oftentimes is reduce and almost like we make it seem smaller than it is because we don't
yeah,
want to deal with the implications,
yeah,
right? But when you have people firsthand experienced telling you what it is, then you don't really have a choice. And I think
yeah,
that right now we're getting close to the end of having that choice, in terms
hmm
of just the spiritual timeline of the day. A lot of things are being revealed, and a lot of people are beginning to understand that they can't live in the lie and simultaneously say that they're a good person or say that they love
yeah,
everyone. Like
yeah,
you gotta listen. And part of the tool to
hmm
help people listen is poetry. As you said, like there's all types of tools, you have music,
poetry,
you have
music, art.
yeah, comedy, all types of stuff to help people
Yeah,
know the truth. But we got to use those things and we got to actually start to
yeah.
listen to those
But
practitioners. Go ahead.
this is what I mean. We have to take those mediums and
Mm,
put them in our hands, put them in the hands of the people that actually have something to say,
yeah,
because these governments and this they try to take it away from us. They try to take it away from us and put it into places where it's going to be pretty and it's going to be palatable for them,
man.
because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear that, a kid like Hilario who wanted to make it into poetry felt, got so much backlash or sort of got put into the side because his accent is different,
Mm,
or
yeah,
things like that. But
they don't want to
do
deal with
people
that.
know? they don't want to deal with that. Do people know that, yeah, Britain goes out there saying, oh, yeah, we're very multicultural. But when you're actually here, is it really though?
Yeah.
Because I've
Yeah.
been living here for 21 years, but you don't know my culture.
Hmm.
You know, you don't know nothing
Hmm.
about me.
That's a bar. That feels like the starting of a poem right there. You about to spit? Oh.
It could it could be, but you know that's facts, and that's what poetry needs to be. That's the way that I found to say my piece, to say, and I don't want them to have it. That's my poetry is mine. It belongs to me. It belongs to the oppressed people. It belongs to the people that have a voice, that have something to say. Poetry, music, art, all of these amazing and great things, and this is what Fluent in Both is about. Is to tell this experience. Do you know about me? Do you know about the kids living in Angola and nearly dying of malaria? Or do you know about the mom that had to carry her daughter in her back, you know, to go to the doctors and then got rejected and watch her daughter die in her hands? These are the stories that I want to tell. This is the things that I want to tell from my poetry. And this is the platform I want to create for people to come that have gone through stuff, that you know, say it, to let them hear it,
Yeah.
you know, and not be scared, because I think we push so much to be palatable for these people. um
No
and yeah,
more.
like, no more.
No
Is This
more.
is our time now
It's our
to, you know,
time. I love
face
it.
the truth, say the
I love
truth.
it. It's time. It is time.
Yeah.
Man, what a powerful conversation with my guy, Hill the Poet, aka Hilario. You guys know him, follow all his socials, check him out also on Fluent in Both.
Like, I feel that, you know, women have women need platforms, and women
That
need to show their
agency.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, you know, it's about time. I think this is their time, and it's not about. I think sometimes we can get lost into the men versus women and red pill,
No.
blue pill
Yeah.
type
All
thing.
these
But
pills,
it's,
man.
yeah, man, it's not about that. It's about, it's their time. Everybody has their time. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I
their
think when we
time.
get out of the competition aspect and begin to see each other as more of a collaboration aspect, like we're supposed to support each other. And
Exactly.
maybe that's not
And
this
you know,
conversation, but it's a beautiful point to make as well. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and you know, black people or black culture, we always empowered our queens.
Absolutely.
There's never been an instance
Never been an issue with that. Yeah,
you
do
know,
we know
yeah,
it. We know how to, when I greet my grandmother, I get on all fours. How I when I talk to my
yes,
mom, I'm like, there's a different culture, literally a different
yeah,
programming for African um kids, grown-ups, whatever, to understand that this is the matriarch, this is something to
yeah,
be respected,
all
or even fathers and mothers. But I don't know if
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
European deficiency. Go ahead.
All cultures are very matriarchal. They are surrounded by grandma. Grandma sits in the middle, and grandma is the one that moves the family. When
Mm,
there's a problem, they go and sit down with grandma. Grandma is the one that gets people to work their issues out. That's the way that our culture, and you know, I was very close with my grandma. My grandma was my world, you know, she was my queen. And so for me, this event is almost a shout out to her, you know, almost you know, just an acknowledge
that's
of
beautiful.
what she meant to
And you said
me.
that's on the ninth, right?
Yeah, that's on the 9th of
Okay.
August. We got, I mean, we got a lot of things coming out. We got the off. We started doing a show called Freestyle Sessions, which is a little bit less planned. Is people go in on the mic and just kind of, you know, do their thing, and
Yeah.
we go to other cities. So our next show will be in Leicester. It's the first time we're sort of starting to branch out and come out of Nottingham a little
Yes.
bit, go
Okay.
to other cities and sort of spread the message and spread the word. So that's coming as well in September, if I'm correct, 28th. But yeah, just, you know, loads of show. I have a show with me personally. I have a show with not not another, which
Okay. Yeah, I'm
is
familiar with
kind of
them.
where I first
Yeah.
saw you perform.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jason, who, you know, giving
Yeah.
us an opportunity again. I
Shout
have
out,
a
Jason.
show with him. It's about diaspora and stuff like that. You know, I created a whole piece just for that show in particular. So I'm really excited
Ooh,
about it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Oh man, well, thanks again for your time today, bro. This
No,
has
it's been a
been an
pleasure.
amazing conversation. I hope everybody on the other side of the screen there is taking something from this. It's just two genuine souls, two beautiful black men just chopping up about love and
For
poetry. And
sure, bro.
at the end of the day, it's all love. So thank you once again. I appreciate
No,
you.
thank you, Tosa. It's always a pleasure, like I said, to talk to you, man. You're an inspiration, bro. Keep doing your thing, keep shining, man. You're a king for real. Like,
Love you
I'm in
too.
awe. I'm a fan. I like literally, I'm a fan of all my friends. Like, I
That's the
just
way to
want to see
be.
people do well. Do you know what I mean? And
And that's
like,
what I said at the beginning.
for
Didn't I
real.
tell y'all? He just wants to see people win, man. So go support, go follow, go like all the videos. You know, this is Instagram world, so you got to do the things, but make sure you go support. But yeah, we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace and love. It's been Zen.
Peace.
Y'all take it easy.
Hadn't brought promise you. Pass the Zen with the heat. You already know what it is. Deep breath. Let it all go. We out. Find that peaceful place where you can let it flow. Open up your heart and let the sun shine in. Embrace that beauty that lies within. Pass the Zen. Spontaneous monk.